Hi, my name is Riley Wilkins. I'm talking about my experience at the Out of the Darkness walk. Who I saw there was friends, families, anyone affected by suicide, whether it was a relative, a spouse, a loved one, a friend. There was like, when you walk in, there was like beads for every like relation you had to somebody with suicide, and I thought that was really cool. I forgot there were so many different colors. I forgot all the ones, but I just saw like people wearing the same shirts, people supporting one person or multiple people. It was just anyone affected by suicide or anyone who wants to prevent suicide is who you see at those events. Um, I expected the event to kind of be as I saw. Um, I've been to similar events at the University of Iowa, and there was always like groups of people who were supporting one person who committed suicide, or just people there. Like the campus was very, very supportive about it, and there were just people there to prevent suicide. Just people who care about people in general. Like everybody there just cares about someone and doesn't want it to keep occurring. Trying to prevent it from keep on occurring and happening to the next person, and just trying to figure out resources and ways to limit right from occurring again. I don't think it was different than what I expected at all. I kind of thought it was not a lot of resources, not a lot of tables as I thought there would be. That there'd be a lot more, or just a few more activities before the walk. There really wasn't much going on before the walk. That's like something that I thought was a little different, but overall, I think it was pretty much what I expected. During the event, like when I first walked in, there's a lot of happiness and joy of like the people around. Like yes, there was sadness, but there was also just happiness that this event was happening, and that it is for people who have been affected by suicide or those just trying to remember their loved ones or friends, etc., who were affected by suicide. Um, and then I got to like the memory wall, and that really, really was sad. Just to see all the letters written by family members, friends, etc., to the people who had committed suicide and passed away, and it was like a real tearjerker just seeing those words. Like I still can't remember it till this day. I never saw it coming. You were so lively. I loved playing with you, Dad. Um, it just really hit home because I've never had anyone affected by suicide. But in high school, there was this kid who committed suicide, and come to find out, he was like really bullied. Like people just called him names, and it wasn't cool. And then his sister went there, and she ended up leaving because of it. Like it really, really, really affected her. Which why wouldn't it? It was her brother. He committed suicide. And then in college, this girl I knew from high school. We went to different high schools. I think she went to Carlisle, and then I went here in Des Moines at Dowling. And her boyfriend never saw it coming. They said he was like so happy. Like, yeah, he had some dark times, but like not as dark as everybody else. Just comes to show how much you don't know what's going on in the person's head at all. Um, but his roommate found him, and he hung himself behind their door in their dorm room. So he was trying to get in. He had to push it really hard, and he found him. And the only reason why he knew it was about to happen was because this guy sent text messages, like weird text messages, like that were abnormal from like their usual conversations that morning to his friends, just like, thank you so much for being there for me, like, blah, blah, blah. And then he sent one to his girlfriend, but his girlfriend didn't think anything about it, like, oh, he's just appreciating me. And then that day he committed suicide, and it was just so shocking. Like it was right next to my dorm, so like I heard the fire trucks, I heard like the screams. It was so sad. So like those are my experience with suicide. I've never had somebody in my life commit suicide or try to attempt suicide, from what I know. Um, I definitely think I do have family members who go through like depression and in times of sadness, and like my uncle's wife now, she has depression, and his wife before was bipolar, and she had really dark times, and um, but never like suicide attempts or discussion about suicide. So I guess I don't really have much experience with that, but just all in all, the memory wall is a huge trigger because it brings those feelings to life. It brings what that person felt when that occurred in their life to life again. And one of the craziest parts about that wall for me was a 12-year-old committed suicide. And it just shows this happens at all ages. Doesn't matter if you're older or younger. At 12 years old, you knew what suicide was and you knew how to accomplish it. And that is just so scary to me. And to see, and I don't know, it's kind of like words can't explain what it like makes you feel like to know that like if I ever have kids, like at 12 years old, my child could know what suicide is and how to successfully do it. And it's just scary. It's like, why should they be exposed to that? How should they know that? And I don't know. It's hard to explain and like to theorize in your head. But yeah, that's the biggest thing that affected me during the walk. As it pertains to our material, we talked about suicide, we talked about the risk factors, especially like the warning signs. But especially when I saw the memory wall, a lot of them like didn't see it coming, but like they probably just didn't see the small things that are signs. Like maybe they went through depression and all of a sudden they had a spark of energy again and they felt so happy and they were like, oh, they're getting through it. No, it could be that they're thinking about committing suicide. It could just be those little things that they don't see coming. Sleep disturbances. Some people just don't talk about their sleep. Using drug and alcohol. Sometimes that's a hidden factor. But I never saw like any words like I know you had a rough time, blah, 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 blah. It was like I never saw coming was the words quite a few times that were used across the wall. But in general, suicide is just a big topic we discussed in class, and how to just address it head on. Just asking, have you been thinking about suicide? Do you have a plan? When I was a community support advocate, as a case coordinator, I had to go through a suicide prevention training, and that training was awesome. Like, I never felt comfortable with talking so direct, and that's what they taught us too. You have to ask them straight on if they have any thoughts, because sugarcoating it is going to confuse them and confuse you, and you're never going to get the answer you need. And so being direct and asking if they have a plan is so key in making sure to prevent suicide specifically. But all in all, I think this experience just wants me to continue to grow and how I can discuss suicide with like my patients as a nurse. I do still have an interest in mental health. I think it'll always be there since I worked in it for so long, especially with youth. I love youth. Youth are like my passion. I want to be a part of that age group and culture. And so just continually to growing my support and finding resources to give to youths, helping them find different coping mechanisms, helping them just address what's going on head on, and asking them directly if they think about it and if they have a plan. It's scary to hear the answer, but it's needed to understand what they're going through. But I think overall, it'll just continue to impact my nursing practice, because I think it'll make me see those signs sooner and make me more aware of my surroundings and the way people are discussing situations with me, and just understand their feelings, their actions, their changes in an intense thought, more than just grazing over it like, oh, that's just a small change. No, I think it'll help me actually think about what might be occurring underneath. But overall, it was a great experience. I really enjoyed it, and it's just something I continue to do. Thank you.